Hello, how you doing? Welcome to day 15. I hope you're all well. And it's a white one for us, isn't it? And I live, as I've said, I live right in the middle of in the countryside, right out in the sticks. And when it snows and there's wind, because we're sort of very open to the elements here, we tend to get these huge snow drifts. So woke up this morning to Cara and going out to about a foot worth of snow in front of our front door. But I know I've just looked at the front of the house and there's about 3 foot at least. So yes, we're snowed in. A little bit too windy though to go out and make snowmen. Yeah, it just cuts straight through you, and I don't want to put my kidneys through that. Thank you very much. So, welcome. I can see that you're all wishing your good mornings to everybody. Hi, Lynn. Hi, Jackie. Hi, Barbara, Sid. Christine. And Louise. Patricia. Hayley. Audrey, hello everybody. Also, that if you're not joining in on the live chat, good morning to you too. So halfway through your challenge, and well done for getting this far. Take a moment, please. Let's just take a minute or two, nice and comfortably, to acknowledge what you've done individually, to acknowledge your 15, into day 15 of your Qigong challenge of creating a new habit for yourself, a positive habit, a healthy habit, an enjoyable habit. So for the next couple of minutes, just sit, follow your breath, and congratulate yourself for reaching this far. Smile. It's good to acknowledge what goes on in our life, but not in a fleeting moment, to take some time out to acknowledge the things that come to test us, but also the things that we perhaps take for granted, and the things that we perhaps wouldn't necessarily even consider acknowledging. So well done to you all. If we were doing this together and we were face to face, then for any of those of you who know me, you'll be receiving a huge hug now from me. So here's a virtual hug to you all. Well done. I remember wanting so much to create a Qigong as part of my life. I do remember those days, albeit over 20 years ago. I remember how easy it was to not be bothered. Do you know what, I'll do it on Monday or whatever. I remember how easy it was just to make up excuses and to actually not do nothing, just to sit on the sofa and just to sort of think, never mind, I haven't got the energy today. But I did, like I know some of you at the weekend did. You know, found it a little bit challenging, but got up, did it, started off with your stand and your shake, and as soon as you start doing all of that, then it just allows you and opens the door for you just to say, actually, I'm feeling a bit better now. And it's that activity, it's that getting your inner ocean moving that's going to slowly start to make you feel happier. You know, it's as simple as that. So well done, well done. I also appreciate that some of you are dealing with health conditions at the moment that are preventing you from actually physically getting up, doing any length of time of practice. But I know that you're using the visual meditation, and I've got to say the feedback that from last week from that visual meditation, so many of you got back in touch saying how you really connected with it. So that's part of your kit now, your own health kit, and hopefully that health kit will continue to grow. The beauty is you don't have to carry it around with you like a heavy backpack that weighs you down. It's this toolkit that you have in here, that you can just tap into whenever you feel like you need to. Especially the times that you feel that you don't want to. So, what I'd like to do today is continue to explore where we left off on Friday. And now we are learning quite a few movements. I also remember the days where they were a little bit challenging. Oh, what comes next? What order do they come in? Well, with your muscle memory, with your regular daily practice, that should hopefully slowly start to come easier. But also what I used to do, and again, I just share with you the things that have helped me personally, not things that I've necessarily read or I've heard that work, but things that I have personally done to share those real experiences, but also, and as I've said before, the real experiences that other students have shared with me to pass on to you. They've sort of said, hey Dennis, this is what's helped me out in the past. Perhaps you want to tell your new students about this, because that's the way that I teach. It's about offering you as much as I can, but as accessible as I can make it for you. So what I used to do when there were quite a few movements that I had to remember was make a list, and I used to write down the list in front of me and stick it to the wall or wherever I was practicing, right in front of me. And I would write down the movements, not necessarily the name of the movements, but how I remembered the movements. So however you remember the movements, I know so many of my students over the years have nicknamed the movements to, I remember when I was working the first ever 10-week course I did with the cardiology group, and it was such a lovely group. We bonded so well so quickly together, and the entire group, every movement that we did, they ended up renaming, and it was brilliant. But everyone started to remember their own names for the movements, and that's fine, absolutely fine, as long as you remember it. So write that down, put it up in front of you, so when you are doing the movements and you think, oh, what comes next, you can just have a glance up. Oh yeah, that's wafting my arms, whatever it may be. Then you know what that means, and then you can go and start wafting or whatever. So that's a really handy tip. The new movement that I'm going to be teaching you today is called diagonal flying, and you will now understand why on Friday I started to play with the previous movement and ask you to move your arms in different directions. And I also asked you to practice your shifting of weight and turning your leg out from the croix. And the reason being is that we're going to use both of those movements in diagonal flying. So hopefully over the weekend you've managed to do some practice of that and it won't be so new to you now. So without further ado, I'd like to invite you to get ready for some movement. And we're going to go straight into learning this new movement. Okay. So the plan is to focus our attention on the new movement. We're going to do that now first. And the reason being is that I don't want to go through the rest of the movements just now, and potentially you'll use a lot of mental effort and muscle effort, and then when we come to learn the new movement you'll feel a little bit sort of tired. So whilst you're feeling fresher, we're going to do this movement and then we'll put it all together. Effortlessness. Sometimes when we learn new things, we want to be good at it. We want to be able to perfect it. Remember, with Qigong, it's not how it looks from the outside, it's how it feels on the inside. And diagonal flying is very much the movement where when you see someone do it, you think, oh, that looks nice, I want to be able to do it like that. And you can, so long as it feels good from the inside, so long as you take away the aesthetic part of it. Don't worry what it looks from the outside. Just feel, connect with it on the inside. And then it will come from within you. And that's when it looks good on the outside, because it feels good when that person's doing it on the inside. Otherwise, if they're just trying to do a movement, that it will end up looking like we are Lego people. And it's a little bit blocky, it doesn't flow. So let's give this a go. Diagonal flying. Whether you're seated or you're standing, what I'd like us to do just to start us off is going to have a quick 60-second shake. Smile. Wriggle, jiggle, wiggle. Get everything moving. Shimmy the shoulders, shake your tail. I'm sure there's a song there, probably, that we could come up with about shaking. Okay, a few more seconds. Excellent, well done. Good, now we've got the inner ocean fizzing around our body. Let's go back to movement 5. One palm face up, other palm faces down, and they separate. So we're going to do movement 5. Turn palms, body sinks just a little, body rises. Turn palms. So this is our swimming dragon movement, movement 5. On Friday, on day 12, I introduced the diagonal version of this. So rather than the hand goes up when they cross and pass each other, they go out to the diagonal. Then we turn our palms, bring them back into the center, and then they go back out on the diagonal. Turn our palms. So your left hand and left arm always stay to the left, and your right arm, right hand always stays to the right. So you can see here this diagonal that I'm creating. My left hand goes up, palm faces up, whilst my right hand goes down. Then I turn my palms, come back into the center, and then I'm going to split and spread them the other way. Come back to the center. So just remember that your right hand stays to the right, left hand stays to the left, and it's either diagonally up, back to the center, or it goes diagonally down and away from you. And the same with the other hand. Okay, so this was just to get you used to doing a diagonal flying. We're going to tweak this now to create the full movement. So come back to the center. Now I'm going to show you the full movement. Please don't do this just yet. I'm going to show you what we are now going to achieve with a diagonal flying. So I'm going to start off with the previous movement. Swimming dragon, diagonal flying. And there we have it. So now you can see why I've asked you to practice this, and also the introduction of opening up the kwa, because the swing too. I time that as well with the classes because that's when we start to use this for diagonal flying too. Let's come back to the center. You can, like I said, like I always say, depending on how the transmission happens and it comes through onto your screen, you can either follow me directly, so I'll try and avoid saying left and right, so you can just copy me as you wish to. Please forgive me if I do say left and right, it's just habit. Part our hands diagonally, so your palm that's facing up spreads out, and it's like you're spreading something. So try and slowly start to get that, plant that seed that you're spreading something. Your hands are connected and you're spreading. Now turn your palms, come back to the center. Now the other hand should be facing up, the other hand down. Now let's spread again. Good. As you spread, you're spreading something, that pizza dough, or you're creating pasta, and you're just spreading, connecting. Good. Okay, so now from this position here, rather than come back to the center, what I'd like you to do is we're just going to slightly alter this, and we're going to do this super slow motion. So do this with me now. Now my hand that's gone out and the high hand comes back, and it stays high. It comes back to the center of my body, palm turns as my left hand does the same, but down up in front of my lower dantian, and this hand here is in line with my nose. So from here, all I've done is I've come back and I've connected to a central post. Imagine that this connection here, your hands are still connected and you are holding on to a very thin piece of glass, for instance. It's really fragile, but you just want to gently hold that piece of glass balanced between both hands. So again, we're going to go into what we've already learnt. So the hands are going to come up just like we did before, up and down, and now spread them apart. Done this bit already. There you go. So now when we come back, the opposite hand is high. The hand palms facing up, The other palm's facing down. Let's bring them back into the center and connect with that piece of glass. So now let's separate again. Do as we've done before. Top hand, palm that's facing up, keeps at the top. The other hand stays low. Connect with your piece of glass. Let's separate again. Bring that back to the center. Keep that top hand high, bottom hand low. Connect to your piece of glass. Separate again. The top hand high, keep it high, bottom hand low, keep it low. Good. Let's separate again. This time, as you separate your hands, I'd like you to look with the diagonal hand that's pointing upwards, look in the direction your fingers are pointing. And then when your hands come back to the center, bring your head, your vision back facing forward. Now you're going to look in the opposite direction. And back to the center. So we're doing this repetitively on purpose. Because with this movement here, we've got to always come back to the center. This part here is probably the most important part of the diagonal flying on an energetic level, on a chi level. Back to the center. So the top hand stays high. Bring it back to the center, keep it high. So your fingers are level with your nose. Bottom hand, fingers are pointing down, level with just below your navel. We do that movement that we were practicing on Friday and over the weekend. Back to the center now. Separate. Good. So I appreciate there's quite a bit to remember with what you're doing with your hands, but let's remember to look in the direction the top hand is diagonally pointing to. And let's also make the connection with the center. And as we separate the hands, we've got that doughy connection between both hands, and bring it back to the center. That doughy connection. And back to the center. Good, good. Relax your hands. Shake out. Take a moment. Please take a sip of water, a cup of tea, whatever you've got going on. Let's just forget about that just for 60 seconds, what we've just done. Let the whole body assimilate the work you've just done. Okay. So, right back into it. Don't overthink it. Movement 5. Always good to go from the previous movement. Up and down. Up and down. Now this time, as the hands come into the center, turn them, split them, so we hold on to that sheet of glass. Now, we diagonally fly, bottom hand comes up, top hand comes down, we separate. Good, keep this hand high, back to the center, bring it back in, separate, diagonally, back to the center. stretching your pasta or pizza dough. And that's elastic. If you've ever done that before, there's this beautiful elastic quality to it. So you can stretch it gently, bring it back, feel the gentle elasticity, bringing it back, and just gently stretch the dough, bring it back. Okay. Just a few more. Let's just get the muscle memory, remembering the movements. Always coming back to the center. Fingers pointing up and down. Bring them inwards, turn your palms. Bring them back to the center, pointing up and down. Bring them inwards, turn your palms. Back to the center, up and down. Bring them inwards, turn your palms. Back to the center, pointing up and down. Bring them inwards, turn your palms. And down. Okay. Shake out. Good. Let's just put the arm movement to one side for a moment and remind ourselves of the leg movement, of opening up the leg from the quad. So standing or sitting in a hip width stance, remember we shift weight, we don't lean, we shift weight so we still feel strong in our balance. Soften your knee, turn your foot out from your heel, so you're pivoting over your heel from the quad and back. Bring your weight back to the center. Momentary pause before you shift your weight to the other side, not a lean. From your quad, open up your leg, pivot over your heel, bring it back. Now bring your weight back to the center, momentary pause before you, and it is a momentary pause. Come back to the center, be centered before you shift your weight to the other side. And as you do this, and you open up from the quad, you might have a tendency to want to, your body, your torso, to follow the opening of the quad of your leg. Allow that to happen. So you might find that, to show you, because it's quite subtle, I'm just going to put my hands on my chest, and that's only to show you as a visual, is as I turn my quad out and open up my leg, can you just see when my body turns and I come back to the center? Just feel my body open and turn with the opening up of my quad. Back to the center, facing forward. Good. Okay, so together, if you want to put your hands here to feel that, please do. Making that physical connection is really important to learning. So by all means, one hand chest, one hand belly. And let's do this together. So shift your weight, not too much, soften your knee, open up from the quad, back to the center. Good. Shift weight other side. Open up from the quad. Bring your foot back. Center. Okay. And again. So what can happen here is there's a tendency when we shift the weight, weight's down through one leg, when we turn out from the quad and we put the foot here, sometimes there's a tendency to shift our weight here back into this leg. Please don't. That's going to put pressure in your knee and you're going to end up adding lots more movement in, and your timing will go out very quickly with the whole movement. So keep your weight in your original weight bearing leg. It's about 70%, so you've still got 30% weight to play with here. Bring it back, shift center, across the other side. sink, open up. Don't transfer your weight across until you bring your leg back, until you come back to the center. Now we shift our weight across. Good. Okay. So we did quite a bit of this when we learnt the second swing. We also learnt that we can end up going into the splits doing this. If you feel yourself doing the splits, come back to a hip width stance. That will rectify itself in time. Just if that's happening, it means that you're not shifting your weight enough and you're moving your heel away from you as you turn your foot out. Keep that nice and light and just pivot over that one point. Okay, good. Last one. Relax, shake out. So now the fun bit. We add the arm movement to the legs and laugh if and when it goes wrong. And if it goes wrong, don't try and correct from that place in that wrong place. Come back to the center and start again. Okay, it will help you to not try and undo something from when it's a big knot. Come back when it's unknotted, if that makes any sense at all. So I'm going to do this super slow-mo because, number one, it will help you to follow, I hope. And secondly, when you do something really slowly, purposefully and intentionally, you will remember it better. And actually, it seems to be quite a bit harder to do, and it's just going to go up and sink into not only here, but into your body as well. So standing in Wu Chi, let your hands float out in front of you. We're going to do swimming dragon, previous movement number 5. Up and down. Good. Now when the hands come to the center, pause. Turn your hands to the side. So the palm that's facing down, that comes underneath. The hand that's facing up comes to the top. Separate your hands so they point up and downwards. Your fingers point up and down. Just double check. Nose, lower down Dian. Good. Okay, so now we're just going to do the hand movement. Okay, just remind ourselves of the hand movement. Diagonally sweep. Come to the center. Turn your palms away from each other. Spread the dough, looking outwards. Now come back to the center. Top hand remains high, bottom hand low. Bring them to the center. Turn your palms, diagonally fly. Separate that dough, looking out to the other direction now. Good. Back to the center. Okay, now pause here for a moment. Hold this posture, space in the armpits, soft shoulders. Now, because this hand's going to come up and out, that same leg on that side follows what that hand does. Okay, so left leg, left hand, right leg, right hand. So I'm going to gently shift my weight across to the other side. My hands slowly start to come in. As my hand palm turns out, I open up from my kwa and it follows my toes. So now my toes should be roughly pointing in the same direction as my fingers are. Good, my weight's still on the other side. Now I'm going to bring my hand back in and my foot back in to the center. Pause, connect to the center. Now I'll shift my weight to the other side. Sink a little. Open up from the kwa. Slowly separate my hands. Check toes, fingers pointing in roughly the same direction. That's good. Connected that doughy feeling between my hands. Now let's use that elasticity to bring everything back to the center and bring my weight back to the center. Shift weight, sink a little. Other side, same foot, same hand. back to the center. Balance, good. Shift weight. Back to the center. Shift weight. When you come to practice this, when we complete the whole form, give yourself permission to go as slow as you need to go. You're not there trying to keep up with me or anyone else. You're there to just do the movement in your time, your comfort zone. Good. So always remember to come back to the center. When you part your hand, spread your do. The hand, the high hand, this hand here, the hand you're looking at remains high. Keep it high, keep it high, keep it high. Then we change. Now the hand that I'm looking at, keep it high as you come back to the center. Good. Shift weight. Welcome to diagonal fly. Good. And lower your hands. Excellent. Have a shake out. So a lot to take on board there. I appreciate that, but it's a movement that is enjoyable. It feels good. And there's quite a bit of coordination about it. It's a bit of a challenge. So why not? Let's rise to the challenge. Let's rise to the challenge. And remember, go slow. Keep on going nice and slowly. Come back to the video if you're having trouble and just watch these, the section of the video that focuses on the part that you want to remember, and just repeat it, repeat it. Good, okay. So we're going to have the live chat at the end of this class as always, so it's going to give you the opportunity then to ask any questions. I'm going to try and give quite a bit of time for the live chat because this diagonal flying tends to create the most questions when we're doing it. So if you do have questions and it's live now and I can perhaps show you if you're having any difficulty, now is really the time to ask, or should I say at the end of this class now is the time to ask, because I can actually physically show you rather than try and email the answer. It's sometimes easier to show you. So for the next 5 minutes or so, let's just run through our form. So the form, remember, is the Jiben Qigong, not the warm-ups. We're just going to do the form. So settle into your Wu Qi. Breathe. Connect your three treasures. Soften your joint. Yawning armpit. Good. Let your hands float out. And discover your Qi. Good. And compress the pearl, movement 1. Puppet joint, swimming through thick air. Add a little pulse to encourage the engine of your thighs to push and pull your inner ocean. %70 effortless as you can make it, using the least amount of muscle effort to move. Good. Movement 2, flying hand. Bend the elbows. Let the hands float up the left and right hand sides of your body. Let them fly away. Breathing in and out. To movement 3, peacock fans its tail. The body pulses, moving in rhythm with our breathing. Good. Into movement 4, hands come out, hang like a T, turn your palm, scoop down, C shape, bend knees, tuck under, crane neck, soften your spine for a C, and lift, right from your core. As the hands come down, we slowly start to sink, tuck under, good, breathing in, breathing out. Good. And then as the hands come down, the body sinks. We're going to go into movement 5, swimming dragon. One palm turns up, other down, up and down. Body sinks, pulses, fold into the kwa. Breathe in as we separate. Breathe out. Breathe in. You can use that feeling, that analogy of the dough between your hands with this movement too. Good. Okay, now slowly we're going to transition into the new movement 6, diagonal fly. Hands come into the center, just like you're doing the previous movement. When they come into the center, turn. The palms facing up, keeps high, keeps on top. Separate your hands. Fingers point down and up. Good. Shift your weight. Good. Hand and foot are linked. Separate. Diagonally fly. Looking. Now bring your foot back in. Hand back in. Keep it high. Keep the other low. Good. Back to the center. Now shift weight to the other side. Hands come down. Center. Separate. Back to the center. Shift weight. Back to the center with your foot. Well done. And if it goes wrong a bit, that's fine. Come back, start off from the center. Good. Both hands down. If you're comfortable to come into a narrow stance, please do. And let's close together. Nice long extended inhale. Extended exhale. Anchor. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining me today. A heavy class as far as learning is concerned, but let's go to the live chat now. If you've got any questions, please do fire away and I'll do my very best to help you. Well done. Thank you. just give you a moment for the questions to turn up, should there be any. Sometimes I sit here and think, what happens if no one's actually asking any questions? I could be sitting here for 10 minutes, but cheers. Hi Gail, I know you usually do your classes through Catch Up, but you've connected with us live today. It's good to do this live. It's good to know that there are other people out there, wherever they may be, doing exactly what you're doing, learning what you're doing as well. So I as a teacher, that inspires me and aspires me to continue and to teach. And although I'm looking into a camera now, and that's beaming out however it does to your screens, it still boggles me sometimes how this works, but it's doing it. It does help me very much to picture you doing the movements and to know that you're there doing it. So live classes are good. Okay, I've got a couple of questions starting to come in. Heather, shimmy those shoulders. Absolutely. You give them a shimmy or a chamois, should we say. So Louise, diagonal flying brought the biggest smile to your face, a great sense of achievement. Yeah, and when I first demonstrate it, it's almost, oh, how am I going to do that? You know, and actually we can, and I think it's a case of how you approach it, and don't set yourself up here because you've got further to fall. You know, just come at it open-minded, open-hearted. If it goes wrong, have a giggle, come back into it, and we'll get through this together. There's, you know, Qigong isn't about becoming good at it. Qigong is about learning. Qigong is about discovering. And, you know, I will do a movement and one day I could find it really easy and it flows, and another day it will just be, it's not that I've forgotten it, it just won't flow so well, and so I stick with it and I just gently melt into the movement, and just to clear out any of those blockages that may have happened since I last practiced. Christine, well, I'm glad you enjoyed my explanations. I know a couple of you who are on this, or a few of you actually, are on this 30-day challenge, have learnt with me before in different scenarios. So some of you I have taught via the hospital. Some of you have taught privately in my classes. And you'll notice that I teach it in different ways sometimes. And albeit I've been doing this 25 years, I'm still learning, in the sense that I never come to my practice as if I know it all. And when I teach something, I appreciate that all of you are individuals. So I learn new ways to teach it, new different techniques to try and make it as easy as possible for you. So I'm glad that you enjoyed the explanation, Christine. Lynn, when we have our hands in the flying hands, they seem to be flatter rather than soft as in the other movements. At this stage, yes. At this stage of the teaching, learning the choreography of the movement, the hands are a little flatter. In time, when you become comfortable within the movement, you will find that the joints will open. You won't be so focused on the movement. You're not learning it anymore. You're trusting your muscle memory. You'll be able to soften, and that will soften your hands. So there is that aspect. The other aspect of this movement is, and I will show you now as you brought that up, Lynn, because it's quite often asked, is that Qigong is thousands of years old and underlines so many different practices in the world. Practices, health practices like we practice for, but also martial arts practice as well. So Qigong underlies quite a lot of martial arts too. Now, we don't get into that. I don't teach martial arts. I don't practice martial arts. It doesn't interest me. I want to do Qigong because it makes me feel just alive and wonderful, and it makes me feel like I've come home to myself. But to give you an idea of the flatter palms, if you were defending yourself from an attacker, you could do this really quite abruptly, and this movement here could be directed at someone's throat or eyes, and this movement here could be used to block a kick. So if you did that really quickly, you really could hurt somebody if you were using it in that intention. However, that's what we would call the fire method. We use the water method, which is soft, flowing, and there is no intention of using it for martial arts at all. We're using it to open up our energy channels for health. So that's another reason why you might see those positions in the hands. Andrea, you like the way the flow is coming along. Slowly but surely it will flow, and then you'll go from movement 1 to 9, and it will seem like there are 9 movements but 1 movement. And that's the beauty of doing what we're doing. So I'm glad you're enjoying the flow. Sid, hi. So Sid was a student in one of the cardio lessons I was just mentioning, and I would have taught those slightly differently. So yes, it's nice to always come back and remind ourselves, Sid. So sorry, I'm just reading Heather's message. Shimmy those shoulders, shake that tail, go like a crazy one, not like a snail. And that's the song which I'm going to do for my warm-up shake. Okay, that's good. Try not to go too crazy, please, Heather. Okay, not a crazy one. I can sort of see you bouncing up and down on your sofas now. Please don't. Okay, nice, gentle shaking. Diane, struggling with movement 4. Okay, uphold the moon. You still can't seem to coordinate the 3 steps to achieve the gentle C shape. So, yeah, when we come, if you imagine, don't overthink it for a start. I know I taught it in 3 C's, but don't overthink, because when we overthink it, we sort of think, oh, right, I've got to get this right. I've got, Dennis said do this, Dennis said do that. Okay, I've got to do this now, I'm doing this. By the time we've done that, the hands are up here, so that's where the coordination goes. So what you could do is imagine I usually have my little boy's bow and arrow about, but I don't have it. I think it's still in the car from lessons from last year. I haven't used the car for a year. If you imagine a bow, so I'm going to draw a bow now. So that's the bow, and I'm holding onto the bow, and as I draw the bow, picture in your mind what the bow looks like. So as I'm pulling the string of the bow, the actual physical bow, the spine, bends equally from top to bottom, slowly come in, and the center gently creates a C shape. Okay? Gently creates a C shape. So just imagine the bow doing this. So when you're doing your C shape, forget the arms for a moment. If it helps to imagine your third bend, not just isolated to your pelvis, but to the back of your knees. See if you can extend your C shape from your tailbone to the back of your knees. So your spine also includes your buttocks and the back of your legs. See if that helps too. So when you do this, this becomes the C shape rather than just the spine. So when you practice, imagine your spine and the back of your legs to the back of your knees. Bow, like an archer is bowing. So at this point here, That point of your head all the way down to the back of your knees creates the bow, and then you lift, and see whether that helps at all in your practice. Let me know, please. And Christine, you agree that it's good to do the movements together. We will, when I teach, I appreciate that the feel-good aspect of doing Qigong is what people want to do. They want to feel good, so we do Qigong. And there are going to be some sessions that I teach that we will just do Qigong, and there's going to be more practice rather than learning. For instance, in my 8 o'clock class, my live classes that I teach Monday to Friday, for the next week or two, all we're doing is practicing. There's going to be very little new learning. I'm giving the people just chance to embody their movement, practice what they've learnt, give them chance to assimilate that, consolidate it, ask me any questions, just like Diane has with movement 4. It's still not so that will often happen, and then I'll start adding some new technical stuff in. So there are going to be some times where it's more technical, more learning, more repeating the same movement because we're learning it. And then once we've got the choreography, which is essentially what we're going to be doing these 30 days, we can then start to embed it with deeper ways of doing these movements. And then you'll have more layers and more layers to add. And that's the beauty of Qigong. It really is, it's so multi-layered. And the way that the body, the mind is looked at or seen as in Eastern thought is that it's a reflection of the universe. So if you look outside, especially at night, and you've got planet Earth and everything that comes with planet Earth, and then you've got the skies and the stars and the planets and the moons and the sun, and it just goes on and on and on. Well, we are a reflection of that as the human being, that, you know, within this physical body that we see, within that there are trillions of cells that are all working to make us who we are and to make us healthy. And it's the same with our Qigong. We go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into that practice. It's just a reflection of the cosmos, as we would call it. A microcosm of the macrocosm. Another day, perhaps. Okay, Diane, give that a try, see if that works. Hayley, the pelvis, when it's tucked, when we bend, are you aiming for the same tuck when we bend to shift weight in diagonal flying, not sticking bottom out? So no, the C shape of the spine is movement 4. When you're doing this movement or predominantly all of the other movements, then it is that squat, okay? It is not the tucking in, okay? The tucking in is used if you've done Tai Chi before. Perhaps they would ask you to tuck your tailbone in for quite a lot of their practice. That is because Tai Chi is a martial art. It is taught as a health practice these days, but originally it was developed as a martial art. And this dance here, the tucking in, solely tucking in, not what we've done, is very martial. It's very hard, it's fire. So no, don't. Okay, when you're doing diagonal flying, just keep a nice, you're not sticking the bum out, you're just keeping your spine nice and relaxed. And yeah, I agree with you, Christine. Embodiment is what you enjoy with the practice. I do too. I really enjoy just going deeper with it and just letting it take different levels. And again, in time, that's what we'll do together. So that's the end of day 15. Look after yourselves, look after each other, and I thoroughly look forward to seeing you on day 16. Take good care. Bye-bye.